started.
Recording in progress.
Okay, there I got it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Email it to Bill. I'm gonna email it to Bill right now.
Okay, let me click my little dot.
And he'll have to open it before you start.
There we go. Okay, am I good in terms of in the screen? Okay, great. Welcome to meeting number 314 of the MAC Group, Dayton. Sorry. As you can tell, our membership vice president is dressed for this lovely spring day. I thank you for coming out, those of you who have attended our meeting in person, and for those of you who are Zooming the meeting, you are also welcome. So with that said, let's get started with agenda first. Here we go. Okay, first thing, do we have any new members today?
Well,
Gil, do we have any new members? We do have George here with us in person. Hello, George. Good to see you in person. Okay, so we're going to move off of the welcome, and we're going to go on to news items. What news items do the membership wish to share with each other? Going once, going twice.
You're going to cover the keynote, right? Or
I'm going to cover the keynote, yeah. The keynote is two things. It's a program from Apple that is Apple's version of PowerPoint, which is Microsoft's program. Keynote is also a word for a meeting where they're doing presentations. So this is considered to be a keynote meeting, and Apple had a keynote meeting last month where they announced new hardware and new services, and that they were going to have baseball on their TV channel.
Started last night.
Yep. Oh, really? Was it who?
I didn't watch, but it started last night.
No, it's baseball.
I used to watch.
You got 156 games.
Are the Zoomers going to be able to see your agenda?
You should, you're not sharing your screen. Share your screen.
Okay, just for your information, we typically follow the same agenda with the exception of who's presenting. That's the only thing that really changes. So we're on news. Anybody else have any items of news? Yes, Rick Cartwright.
Couple quick things. There was a new release yesterday or the day before of all the iSuite, the iWorks. So new keynote, new keynote.
Pages,
Numbers.
keynote,
Yeah, those
numbers.
And it did a few things that probably aren't going to be good for everybody, but one of the things it did is it allows it now to use shortcuts with the app, which is pretty powerful for power users. And then, of course, they won for CODA. They won, what was it, an Emmy for CODA, which is a big deal for Apple. I mean, they were the first streaming service to get that award.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal for Apple, if anybody cares.
And if I remember
Oscar, yeah,
correctly, at the Emmy show, no one was injured. Which is also a good thing.
No slacks.
No slacks went around the world.
Okay. We can allude to things, but we can't be too specific. Because that's one of the things that people over the years have told me they really enjoy about the group. We don't do religion, we don't do politics, we don't do philosophy.
And we don't do boxing.
Huh?
We don't do boxing.
Yeah, no, we don't do boxing. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other news items they want to? Going once, going twice. Okay. I think we're going to move on to the next one. Dan Wyckoff.
Rick just emailed you mine.
Okay. So what I'm going to do then is step down. Just a side note, in terms of software programs and such, there's a company called MacPaw, and they provide a online store called SetApp, and they also are known for their program Clean My Mac. And they are based in the Ukraine. Okay. And staying off of political stuff, they have successfully, they had continuity of business plans in place ahead of the current unpleasantness. So they are continuing to operate, and the last email I got from them, because I'm a beta tester for them, all of their personnel are safe. While we're bringing in that presentation, we'll do the other one, which is freebies, wanted, and for sale. Did anybody bring anything they have for sale today?
I do have a freebie.
Ah,
It's a 42-inch plasma TV, Panasonic.
okay,
It works, but only for 10 or 15 minutes. So it needs a new power supply.
okay,
It's like $50 to fix
okay.
it. But if you can find a power supply.
Yeah. So what Dan was saying, just in case people didn't hear him on the mic, he's got a 42-inch Samsung TV.
Panasonic plasma
Panasonic.
TV.
Yeah. And it's got power supply issues. And if you feel up to doing the repair on it, $50 and it's yours. So that's Dan Wyckoff, and you can contact Dan.
The thing is free, but
Oh.
it's going to cost you $50 for a new power supply.
Okay, so the item is free, but if you want it to actually work, you're gonna have to put
It
some
works,
money
but,
into it.
you know, it doesn't do good on long term. So,
Do we have anybody looking for things where they need something?
Bill, while you're waiting, bring
Yeah.
the web page up. Our TMG Dayton.
And I'm bringing up the webpage. Hold on, come on.
Baby, you got lots going on.
There we
All
go.
right.
Ooh, we really need to update those pictures of Mark Cobb.
Well, they're up there. Just take-
Those were our Taliban days.
They're going to be on the other right-hand side.
Okay.
Now, go
I
up,
gotta get some of my,
go up to resources.
resources.
Bottom of the page, for sale wanted.
For sale and wanted, and now I know that to do that I forgot to do, which was to list some stuff on it.
Well, you're going to have to send it to me.
All right, so if you have items that you want to put up for sale, or things that you're looking for, we now have that space on the website where you can post it.
Does that not load? Click for sale
It
wanted.
seems to be coming
There
up
it
with
is.
there we go, a PDF. Oh, cool, much nicer. Okay. So
Go
we're
ahead,
gonna have
keep
one
scrolling.
left.
There you go.
Wow. So I'm just looking at what all's here. Ooh, we got,
Now, I just said contact Dan. I
Yeah.
didn't put an email or phone number or anything.
okay, so anyway, going back to what we were doing, I'm gonna hit my share screen again. And I'm gonna go to,
Lower right share. Yeah,
yeah, Safari. So now we're looking at the for sale and wanted page on our website now. Hey, George, can you see it?
Bingo.
Okay. How about Shauna?
Got it.
Okay, cool. Operator error.
go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom. Yours
Okay,
is down
scrolling all
there.
the way to the bottom, and it says...
Keep going.
I'm getting there.
There you go.
Click here to retrieve.
Bill has a large quantity of USB cables.
Yeah. The Ethernet cables, I think, are going to go to Shauna.
Okay.
I'll bring those in for her. There's other stuff. You know, if you've decided that in your dotage years you want to be a computer collector, I have a wide assortment of computers.
So if you have things you want to sell, send me an email with the listing, and if you want your email listed or your phone number, let me know.
Okay. Unless you want to hook your iPad up.
that was the original plan.
Do that, he can just shoot a picture of it.
Yeah, they won't be sharing anything, they'll just have to see it through the camera.
Okay, we're gonna go to Plan B then.
Stop sharing.
So with that said, I gotta say, stop sharing. Okay, I'm gonna get up and out of the way.
All right, now granted, what I'm talking about today is a first world problem. Not everybody has this problem, but I'll tell you what I was trying to, oh, wait a minute, it's got you, just,
It's got USB-C, you should be able to plug straight in.
yeah, well, either way.
So what we've got is an iPad Pro, and he's got a dongle that plugs into the bottom of the iPad Pro, and then there's an HDMI cable plugged into that, and then that's plugged into the projector.
There, now you got something up.
There you go. And Rick Cartwright is a presentation maven and a road warrior extraordinaire. And how many presentations do you think you've made in your life?
I don't even begin to guess. Probably several.
Over 1,000?
Oh, easy.
Okay, so here we go. Dan's got it,
I'll
and
sit down.
it should be
All right.
on your screen from the video camera.
Like I said,
They're not
this is,
seeing it. Oh, you're doing it that way, yeah.
this is,
Slide to your right. Your right. There you go.
so this is definitely a first world problem. My problem is I've got a detached garage, and while I've got HomeKit controlling the garage door, a lot of times people would come home and forget to close it, and I'd go out in the morning and the door had been open all night. So my solution to this was to create a notification. You get notifications all the time on your phone or your iPad all the time, but this was a specific notification depending on the status of the garage door. So I didn't want HomeKit to automatically close the door, which could be done. I wanted it to tell me that it was open and then ask me what I wanted to do. I'm using two apps, and I did this on my phone. First app is Shortcuts. Everybody has that on their phone now. And the other app is called PushCut, which is another app that you would need to create this notification. So PushCut is free, but they limit the operability for the free version, and so I purchased the Pro version for $38, which is just an unlimited license. So this is the shortcut screen, and you create a new folder in Shortcuts, and you could call it whatever you want, but I called it PushCut, and then you can automatically download this shortcut that they give you called Export Push to PushCut, and then I created two shortcuts, one called just Open Home App, and the other is called Text Home. So I wanted the notification to either give me the option to open HomeKit or to text people that are at home saying, why is the garage door open? So that's the first thing that you do. And then this is the screen for those shortcuts, and this is the text that would be in the text. This is the text that would be in the text that you would send with the shortcut. And this is the simple shortcut to just open the HomeKit app. So once you have those created, you go to PushCut, and if you want to look at PushCut's website, it's pushcut.io. And then this is their screen, and you simply go up to the top right and say, add a notification. In this case, I called it garage door check, and the interface for that looks like this. So you check off the enable, and then it shows you a web URL, which I'll talk about later, but then you create the text that would be part of the notification that you get on your device. So I wanted to just say, the garage door is still open. What do you want to do? So then, by exporting your shortcuts that you created, Pushcut can then add that to this, and so you add these actions, and that goes back to those shortcuts that I talked about earlier, and then you create a shortcut. I didn't want it to just check whenever. I wanted it at a specific time of day. So I created an automation in HomeKit called 10 p.m. daily. And that shortcut in HomeKit gives you the option to set the time that check occurs. And also, this is where the push cut notification comes in. You add that shortcut, and you do that through their URL, which is this gobbledygook here. So it's a simple programming if-then statement. So if the garage door current state is open, then it sends this notification and this information, and then if it's closed, it does nothing. So it just dies on the vine. So every 10 o'clock, it runs that, and if the door is open, I get a notification on my phone, and it gives me the option then to either go to the home app and close the door, or to send a text if I'm out of the house and not sure why the door is open. So I know that's really hard to digest right now, but I was just introducing the idea. There's so many different things that you could run. If you have a sensor on your front door and it's not locked or and the door is open, you could have it checked for that, or you could think of any unlimited number of things that are interfacing with your HomeKit. So, any questions? I don't want to take too much time, but perhaps, yeah, go.
If you happen to have a power outage at the time it's checking, would that disrupt the process, or does it keep
Well,
checking?
if your Wi-Fi is down, yeah, you wouldn't get a check. It would still run, but it wouldn't find anything. So, all right.
So now I'm just gonna stand up. Okay, I'm on camera, we're doing good. So, Chuck Stivers.
Yes.
AppleScript is not dead, they're just calling it shortcuts. So scripting is still alive on the Mac, which is a good thing to know, because when you have repetitive tasks or if-then type decision loops, it's good to have a script.
And it automatically, I should say that creating that if-then statement, it automatically, once you search for an item in your HomeKit, you can then add different conditions. So, just depends on the type of item that you're connecting.
Okay. Now, I know that for many of you, this HomeKit stuff does not resonate. That's okay. Part of our obligation as a user group is to expose you to things that you would not think about doing now, but maybe in your future life. Okay. It's all about expanding the balloon of knowledge until, of course, it pops. Okay. So with that said, let's go back to agenda again. And I'm looking here. Okay, next one we're going to do, we did freebies and whatever, so now we're going to do the dreaded help desk. Help desk. Anybody here in the building have a help desk issue? And I'll start with back table.
Yeah, Dick Radcliffe. So, I'm running Big Sur on my iMac. Is anything wrong with upgrading now to Monterey? Is there any problems with that?
I just moved my wife's machine up to Monterey last week. So it's copacetic right now, it's good.
What's next after?
We won't know about the
June 6th.
Hmm?
We'll know on June 6th.
Say it again.
We will know on June 6th.
Oh, June 6th, because that's when the Worldwide
keynote.
Developer Conference
That's
is.
the keynote too.
And that's also a keynote being a meeting with presentations. So you'll be running the latest and greatest if you go up to Monterey.
I have one
Now,
more.
you have what, a new iMac?
Oh, no, it's a 2017.
Okay, so you bought an older
Yeah.
machine to replace the older machine. Got it.
There you go.
Okay,
I have one other
Sure.
question, if you don't mind.
then we'll go to Dan.
Okay, so I'm trying to teach myself numbers, because it comes with the iMac.
Sure.
Okay, and actually, I will give a good shout out for them, because they do have a good program for teaching you how to do that. I like it pretty well, but my problem is, I have trouble getting a spreadsheet to, a two-page spreadsheet to go to one page and use the whole screen for
Sure.
for the information, and also, I can't seem to get my printer, it's good for to print it out. Does anybody have anything like, I can't find anything online that tells me how to do that.
Okay. Back when I was doing teaching for for MacTown or Mac Depot, when I was doing training services for them, what I would recommend, the first thing I would do when people wanted to use the iWorks programs, Pages, Numbers, Keynote, is I'd ask them, are you a person that actually wants a book in front of you? Okay? Some people like to have an actual physical book or a PDF that they can read. And if they said yes, then I would tell them to go look at the manuals that are available for Apple programs from a company called Peach Pit Press.
What that is.
Peach Pit Press. The second thing I would tell them is they ought to join the Mac group, because Peach Pit Press gives our members a discount. So if you go on to the, is it vendors page on the
Yes.
website?
Yes.
If you go on the vendors page of our website, they've got where you can get was it 20% or 10%?
I don't remember what theirs is.
Okay,
Okay, does that help?
yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't show you how to do it, but I pointed you towards a reference that'll be much more helpful for you.
Peach Kit.
Peach Pit
Pit.
Press. They're not in Atlanta, are they? Where everything is peach this and
Yeah.
peach that? All right. And now, wait, we gotta go to Dan and then we'll go to George. Dan?
I'm just looking for somebody to help install Boot Camp on my 2012 iPad, or I'm a Mac Pro. Yeah, I'm going to the dark side for that. So,
Okay.
I just haven't done that before, especially, I'm not sure if Boot Camp, it will allow it, and there's some workaround, but just needed somebody, an expert-wise, to talk to.
Okay. There's other things you could do instead of Boot Camp. For example, what version, what operating system are you running on your Mac Pro?
Mojave.
Mojave. For example, you could run, you want to run Windows 7, 10, 11, 8?
10, I think. it
10,
is.
okay, and you got a license for it, right? Okay. You could run that in VirtualBox.
No,
No?
can't do it.
Okay, why are you saying?
There's drivers for the, I'm wanting to use it for VR, and
Oh,
there's
okay.
drivers for the graphics card that will
Okay,
only be
yeah, you
available.
gotta do boot camp.
Yeah.
How soon do you have to get this done?
No, I'm in no hurry, I'm just trying to get it done rather than go out and
It's
buy
like,
a new
I've
piece.
decided it's time to re-enter the world. And so, next week, I'm doing a house visit with John Scotto, and then Dan Duncan, Thursday, right? Thursday, so maybe the week after.
Okay, well, it'd probably be, after that even.
Or
I've
what
got-
I might also do is pull out my cheat sheets, okay, this is how you do it, blah, 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 blah.
Right, hardware from it and get it back online somehow, because right now it's just on the linked on the server, so.
Okay,
I'll.
so do you need help with?
If you're volunteering,
Yeah.
I'll contact you when I'm ready.
Because I know what's going to happen. I'll be over at your house and you'll say, oh, by the way, Bill, I have this 42-inch Panasonic
It's in the
TV
box, by the
and
way.
it works for about 10, 15 minutes, which would be good for you because, you know, you have a short attention span. So, okay, so now we're going to go to George.
I had a comment on numbers, if it's at all like Excel. I had a spreadsheet that ran 14 pages and I compressed it down in one sheet by manipulating the page size, column size. And if you get too small, you gotta start changing fonts, so you might just play with all those details.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things to remember about all of the iWorks programs, that's numbers, pages, and Keynote, yes, I'm doing that repetition deliberately, is that they were meant for web creation and publication creation. They weren't really meant to be, you know, just used on the computer. So they have all of these graphic arts whiz-bangs included in them. That if you just want to do a spreadsheet and you just want to do a min-max solution, makes it you end up having to like ignore a lot of the power in the program. You know, turn off features so you can just, you know, get your single one-page spreadsheet, your column totals, you know. So it's a lot more. It's Excel meant for a graphic designer, and most of us don't have a graphic designer's mindset and view of the world. Okay, but it's a good program to learn anyway. All right, with that said, we had the comment from George. Anybody else for a help desk item in the room? I don't see anybody else in the room, so we'll open it up to the Zoom audience. Okay, who's watching our folks so we can tell who needs?
I'm not saying anything.
No hands.
Okay, George Reinhardt doesn't have anything.
Well, I could add a little, I was trying to create a DVD that would play on a TV or a video recorder. And actually my son did all the work. We finally wound up using I'll spell it for you, AISEE Soft DVD Creator. Now it costs $30 or $40, but they give you a free, you can make use it 3 times free. So we got our DVD made and it worked pretty good. We had a terrible time with iDVD. I think it would make a DVD that the computer could read, but the DVD player on our TV or other thing like that, it wouldn't work. So anyhow, that was just a little trick. My son, who does technical theater in Michigan, was able to pull off and solve our problem.
Okay, I'm going to add a comment to what George just said. And George, I would ask you to type that stuff up, put it in an email, send it off to us so we can put it in the meeting notes or after meeting notes. And that is, there's another program called Toast Titanium from way back in the day when every Mac had an optical drive in it. That is very, very, very good for making DVDs that are playable on DVD players, the actual physical DVD players, and Blu-ray players, for that matter. Okay, so I just wanted to add that one in too. And, okay.
What was the
anybody
name
else out
of it
there have a
again?
comment?
Toast.
Toast
Iraq,
Titanium.
yeah.
Hi, Barb. What do
Hi.
you want to tell us?
I was just looking at the one we have here. It says by Roxio, Roxio.
Yeah,
Or maybe it's another company now.
yeah, that's the people who ended up buying Toast Titanium along with some other programs.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, just, more information is always good. Okay, unless we have somebody else with a dire circumstance, I'm gonna say we're done with help desk. Okay, we're finished with help desk. So next thing would be to move on to the raffle, if I remember correctly. All right, anyway, moving forward. April 2022 Apple's Buyer Guide, no fooling. And William Herrick, that's my name, and I'm your presenter today. And all right, all of my Zoomies out there, can you see the screen? That's
Yes.
got my picture
Yes,
on
yes.
it from, okay.
There's
good
another
to go.
photo that needs to be updated.
Well, you know, if I used a little bit of Grecian formula, the picture wouldn't need to be updated. So I'll just go with that for right now. Once again, you know, all of those kind comments from my friends out there in Zoom land. All right, anyway, moving forward. April 2022 Apple's Buyer Guide, no fooling. And William Herrick, that's my name, and I'm your presenter today. And let me just click there. Okay, number one reason for a new computer. I just threw this in because it happened to me the other day on one of my machines. When you get your browser is no longer supported. We do so much stuff via the internet. If your web browser doesn't work with today's internet, that means you either need to update your operating system and its programs. And if that's not possible, then you need to go with a newer machine. Click again. So what are we going to cover? We're going to go over the Apple March 2022 hardware releases, which was a new iPhone SE, a new Mac Studio, a new iPad Air with the M1 chip, and I'll make some observations about another piece of hardware that I didn't put on the list, which is the new Mac Studio display. After that, we'll be looking at a thing called the Mac Rumors Buyer Guide. So there's a website called Mac Rumors. They have a wonderful tool that I think you should know about, which is called their Buyer's Guide. And we'll talk more about that later on. And then last but not least, I'll be talking about their guidance about what you should be buying if you need a replacement machine. And I'll talk about my guidance. And just to sort of put all of this into a context, the reason why we're doing this is because that Apple hardware lineup is getting a little confusing. You've got all different types of phones, all different types of tablets, all different types of laptops, all different types of desktop machines. And when people say, what do you think about this versus that? I go like, wait a minute, there's so much going on. I really don't know. I got to research it. Well, when something is complex enough that you got to research it, that means it's time for me to step in, do a presentation, and simplify it for everybody. Okay, with that said, there will be an additional resource that'll be emailed out to the members after the meeting, along with the presentation, and that is a PDF where somebody actually does a min-max benefit analysis dollar-wise. It's, you know, all the charts, all the numbers for all the different form factors of Apple hardware. I didn't think that would relieve confusion. I thought that would add confusion in a short presentation. But if you've got it as a reference, I think it's a good thing to have. So that'll also be coming out for those of you who are quants number people. Okay, with that said, moving along. So the first thing that was released in March, announced, was the new iPhone SE. Yes, oh, we got somebody in the audience that just waved one. Okay, so that's the pretty picture. Here's the thing. Okay, so March 2022, third generation iPhone SE. It's a $429 iPhone with Touch ID, an A15 Bionic chip, and 5G connectivity, which reminds me of a phone call I had the other day where somebody called me up and they said, "What is it with the G's?" And I said, "I don't know what it is with the G's. What are you talking about?" She says, "Well, it seems like whenever I get a phone, they tell me that I'm going to have to replace it because it needs more G's." And I said, "I don't quite understand. What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, 3G, 4G, 5G. And I said, "Oh, yes, you're right. More G's are good." So the other features of the new iPhone SE, 4.7-inch display, 5G connectivity. So it's doing the latest cell phone stuff. A15 Bionic chip. It's in the form factor of the iPhone 8. It's got Touch ID, it's got a single lens rear camera, 4 gig and $429 starting price. The main feature for people like me who are old, it's got an honest to God mechanical home button that you can press. Okay, for some people, that's not a big deal. For me, you know, first thing in the morning, I'm looking for the phone, I'm looking to, okay, yeah, home button. The second thing they announced is the new Mac Studio. This is a new type of computer from them. It's a new form factor. It looks like a Mac Mini, but it's about 2.5 times higher than a Mac Mini. This little chunky piece of aluminum goodness is actually more powerful than some of the Mac Pros they make. Those are the big iron, the stuff that's got that huge aluminum grill in the front. They go for between $30,000 and $50,000. This little chunky thing can outperform it. So let's do a couple little features here. So it's the Mac Studio, new form factor, is a pro-oriented desktop Mac that's a hybrid between a Mac Mini and a Mac Pro. It's equipped with an M1 Max or an M1 Ultra chip. That's a new chip that they've got. Tons of ports and a new thermal design. I'm just going to go back one slide. If you're looking at the front of this thing towards the bottom, they've got on the front of it where you can plug in an SDHC card, like from a video camera or a digital camera, and where it's got 2 other ports where you can plug in things. So no more of this, I got to reach around in the back and try and figure out where the ports are on the back. It has additional ports on the back, but my Lord, I've been waiting for them to put something on the front of these Mac Mini or Mac Studios for 20 years, and they finally did it. Let's see, other features, M1 Max or M1 Ultra chips, 20-core CPU, up to 64 cores of graphics processing. Starts at $2,000, goes up to about $4,000. You can have up to 120 gigabytes of unified memory, up to 8 terabyte solid state storage, and you can have up to 6 Thunderbolt 4 ports. This is a real workhorse. And as I was saying, it outperforms these Mac Pros, the type that the people that make commercial films in Hollywood use to do their video rendering. This thing outperforms them. Okay, now, one of the things that I didn't put in the presentation is with the Mac Studio, they also released a video monitor. But that's not really what I should call it. It's called the Mac Studio Display. Inside, it's got an A15 or A14 Bionic. A13 Bionic chip. It's got You can do 5, help me out here, Mark, with the display. 5K, you could 5K, it starts at $1,500, I want to say.
$15.99.
Hmm?
$15.99.
$15.99. Absolutely gorgeous display, but the hardware guy in me really objects to the fact that it doesn't have a detachable power cord. You know, it's got a permanently attached power cord.
Pull it out if you're strong enough.
Yeah, but then you're going to have to take it to Apple Repair.
Not necessarily. There's some guys online that are pulling them out and putting them back in. But they've got a special tool supposedly that you can make to pull them out.
Okay, well, anyway, but the thing is, if you compare it with the 5K monitor that was bundled with the Mac Pro, that thing was incredibly expensive. Its stand, the one with the Mac Pro, cost $1,000. Okay, so this is putting 5K monitors in the price range of the folks that, for example, that do YouTube videos and make their money that way. Okay, so moving right along. Third item that they released is a new iPad Air, and I love my iPad Air, but they did something sort of interesting. They didn't put a Bionic chip, an A13 or A12 or 15. They put an M1 chip in. Apple Silicon M1. So this is the same chip that runs the Apple Silicon Mac Mini, the same chip that runs the Apple Silicon iMac. So this is putting a lot of horsepower into a very small package. In fact, the iPad Air with M1 chip outperforms the iPad Pro.
This has an M1 chip.
Hmm?
This has an M1 chip. Right? My Pro has an M1.
I thought they had some stuff with the graphic CPUs that outperform. So you're saying it's comparable?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's comparable. Okay, so anyway, so the iPad Air features a 10.9-inch display, Touch ID power button, M1 chip, new color options, and 5G connectivity. So if you get the cell phone version, you're doing the latest cell phone 5G. True tone and white color, M1 chip, 5G, 12 megapixel front camera with center stage. Now, I don't quite understand center stage. It's a video. Okay, we're going to go to
Center stage is a wide angle lens.
Yeah.
And what it does is when you turn the camera on, it kind of, if I go over here, it follows me over. You would think that's a moving camera focusing on where I'm at. So the lens will follow, it kind of takes and creates a zoom in window around where I'm at.
Okay, so if I were doing homebrew video productions, like my own little Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever, this would make all of the stuff I'm filming with the iPad look much more natural, like I've got a tracking camera.
Or if somebody else comes in the lens, if I'm on the center stage on FaceTime,
Yeah.
for example, and Teresa comes in and sits beside me, it zooms out to get her in the, and then automatically, I don't have to do anything.
So it's sort of like being able to do that which a cameraman does without a cameraman.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's pretty cool.
Crops your image, and then that crop moves.
Yeah,
The crop changes.
So it
depending on what's
centers
in there.
everything.
okay. It also uses, you can use the Apple Pencil with it, and it has Magic Keyboard support, and it's $599 price tag, which is significantly less than an iPad Pro.
That's what people are talking about. You're getting all the performance of a Pro in a cheaper price. Almost. There's a couple things you don't get, but most of it's there.
Okay, so that's what was released.
How much storage?
It goes 128.
Yeah, I can,
I don't know.
they have a 64 gigabyte and a 128, and you can go up to 256 on it.
Yeah, there's something.
Okay, so anyway, so that's what was released in March. All right, so putting it in context, you've got all this new stuff that came in. Let's say you're thinking about getting a new machine. Well, now you've got even more things there to confuse the situation. So one of the resources I use whenever I get confused, I go out to the Mac Rumors website, and they have a buyer's guide there. Now, what they've done, let's see, the good part and the bad part of Mac buyers is they've followed what Apple production has done for the last 40 years. So they look and see how long it's gone before Apple updates a particular computer form factor. When I'm saying form factor, most of you use the word model. Model of iPhone, I say form factor of iPhone. So they look at what they've done in the past to try and predict how long it's going to be before they update that design. So it would be sort of like you're looking at GM and you're going, if GM didn't put out new models every year, when are they going to come out with a new model of this car or that car? So you can get the latest and greatest model as opposed to something that just got superseded. So let's go through what they're looking at. Now, I'm not going to give you the actual numbers on this. I'm just going to give you their advice. So they're saying for the iPhone 13 Pro, they're saying neutral. That means if you want to buy it, go ahead. They don't, it's not overdue to be updated anytime soon. iPhone 13, same thing. iPhone SE, the new one that Kathy just flashed in our faces, and now we're all envious of Kathy because she has a newer phone than I have. They have a green button which says buy now. For the 12.9 iPad Pro, they're saying caution. They're saying you may not, if you can hold off, because chances are something good's going to be happening to that form factor. For the 11-inch iPad Pro, they also have a caution warning. Again, some sort of update is overdue for it. For the iPad Air, buy now. It's new. It's been updated, and it's going to be, available. It's not going to get superseded anytime soon. iPad Mini and the regular iPad, they both have, it's neutral, meaning that they're getting a little long in the tooth. They're overdue for an update, a refresh, I think is the term that's also used. So now we're going to move over to the MacBook and the desktops. MacBook Air, they say don't buy.
Break. I have an XR. Where do I stand on that? iPhone.
You already have it, right?
Yes.
Well, it's out of date, it's legacy, it's only, you basically use it until your phone company tells you different.
Well, oh, shoot.
See, this is not an evaluation of things that people currently have. What they're saying is if you were going to be replacing that XR and you were going to be, let me go back to where we're looking at iPhones. If you were going to replace your XR and you wanted to go the value route, you'd go for an iPhone SE. You wouldn't go for the iPhone.
I'm sort of in a Zoom meeting, but if you want to drop something, that's fine.
Okay, I have
Oh,
consumer
I don't go anywhere hardly. I can't walk well enough to be on concrete too much. So. No. You kind of gave me a generic time. It's not a problem. Well, there, you're very kind. Thank you.
Somebody.
Okay, I'm gonna just.
Can
you move everybody?
But it's going to be a while. I go back to the doctor on Wednesday. We'll see what he has to say.
Can you mute them?
I can't get it to mute.
Okay, I'm just going to go forward.
In the snow, sure.
And I'm just going to
Whoever's
say,
talking
in
about
general, to
going to the doctor,
everybody,
please
if
mute
you're
yours.
Zooming, I would ask that you mute your.
You just
Your
did.
I muted everybody, so George will have to unmute it, whoever was talking.
Okay.
Okay, you said something about the phone company. I have Consumer Cellular. That's not so much a phone company.
Okay. So the question I would ask you is this: does the phone do what you want it to do right now?
It seems so, yes.
That means for you, it's fine. And you don't have any immediate need to replace it. So these recommendations are from Mac Rumors. It's for people who are in the situation where their current equipment is not working to meet their needs and they need to get a replacement. So all they're saying is, if you were going to be in the market for an iPhone right now, if you bought an iPhone 13 Pro or an iPhone 13, chances are that it's not going to get refreshed for at least another year or so. If you were in the market to replace an iPhone, but you wanted to go more value oriented, the iPhone SE is the buy right now. It's a good thing to go with.
Thank you.
Okay, same thing with iPads. If you're going to be buying, let's say you're in the market to replace a tablet, and you were thinking about an iPad Pro, all Mac Rumors is saying is these things are due to be refreshed. So you don't want to buy those right now. If you really need one right now, buy an iPad Air. And as Rick Cartwright was saying, that current iPad Air has the functionality of an iPad Pro at a significantly lower cost than an iPad Pro. Okay, moving right along, back to desktops. Okay, I'm going to do this in sort of reverse order. If you were in the market to buy a Mac Pro, don't do it. Get a Mac Studio instead, because we don't know when they're going to update those Mac Pros, but we know they're overdue for a refresh. Remember supply chain issues. They can't update stuff until they know that they've got sufficient materials coming into their manufacturing operations. Also, if you're in the market for a MacBook Air or a 13-inch MacBook Pro, don't buy those. Go with either a 14 or 16-inch MacBook Pro right now, or you wait until they come out with that refresh, which is probably going to be in the fall or early next year. If you were in the market for a Mac Mini, I wouldn't buy it right now because it's overdue for a refresh. This is the Apple Silicon Mac Mini. All of these were the Apple Silicon machines. If you were thinking about buying an older Apple Intel computer, I would not recommend that because they will be no longer supported in another 18 months to 2 years. In other words, they'll be end of life. Apple is moved through this 2-year transition to their own chips. They're going forward. They're not going back. Let me go up to the next one. So this is my guidance. Don't buy old Apple Intel models, okay, unless that's all you can afford and get right now. If you got a dead machine and you got to get a replacement and it's in your budget, okay, then I can see it. But if you can wait, or if you have the budget, go with the newer Apple Silicon machines. If it's an iPhone replacement and you're with a traditional carrier, you just ask the carrier. They have all these special deals that they'll do for various types of phones. If you're replacing an iPad, I would go with the iPad Air with the M1 chip. It's a lovely device. I'm just about to put in my own order for one. It's going to replace my older iPad Air. And then I'll have bragging rights with my wife who has an iPad Pro. I'll say, oh, can I borrow your pencil to use on my iPad Air, which is lighter and easier to use and faster than your iPad Pro. If you were in the market for a Mac Pro replacement, now that's the big iron. These devices that are about, 3.5 foot tall and they got little casters under them and they're expensive machines, I would not buy a Mac Pro right now. I would go with the Mac Studio. They are unbelievable workhorses in a small, chunky package of aluminum goodness. I mean, they are just, I cannot believe what they put into that package. And almost half of that shape that's in there is actually a heat sink. So these things are incredibly quiet. They stay incredibly cool. Just power, premium power in a small package is the way I describe it.
Graphics card on those is on the chip though, right?
Hmm?
The graphics portion is on the chip.
Yeah.
That's the main
Yeah.
difference between the
It's
Studio. and the
Apple
Pro.
Silicon. So your RAM, your GPU cores, all that stuff's on the one chip. So, 20, you can have up to 20 processing cores, up to 64 of the graphic processing units. I mean,
But for a lot of people, that's the difference between the Pro and the Studio. I mean, everything's on that chip.
correct.
You can't swap out.
And that's, yeah, and that's true. It's you, when you buy these Apple Silicon devices, you don't buy it to meet your needs today. You go, what am I going to be doing in another 3 years? And you buy it to match that, because you're not going to be able to add more storage to it. You're not going to be able to add more RAM to it. You're not going to be able to add a graphic card to it, because the RAM, the graphic cores, all that stuff is in the one chip. Last guidance, iMac, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini. I would wait till fall 2022. Chances are that in June, Worldwide Developer Conference, they're going to drop the other shoe and tell you what they're doing with these other machines. And I would anticipate that in the fall, in time for the school year, they'll come out with those new models. They've done that in the past. I think they'll do it in the future. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing. And we're going to open the floor to questions. Would you be kind enough to unmute the peanut gallery? We'll start with the folks that are here. Kathy?
Just to mention is ISE is selling like hotcakes.
Okay.
I bought one, my sister bought one and stuff, and we did our research beforehand.
Yeah.
What we're waiting for now, I need a new laptop, but I'm waiting for, for which one to buy. And I think I'm gonna wait till the fall or so.
Yeah. What my wife's in the same situation in that she's needs to replace an older MacBook Air. And we're waiting for the fall because we think supply chain issues will have eased up enough that they'll have more of the M1 and the M1 Pro chips. And then you have this chip magic that they did where they take two of the Mac M1 Pros and hook them together with this interface to make the M1 Ultra. So I'm thinking that they'll update the MacBook Air in the fall, and they'll update the MacBook Pros in the fall. At least they'll give you another chip option,
Well, you told me wait before, and I thought I'm gonna wait further because.
Yeah. If you were in a situation where you could not wait today, I would go with the 14-inch MacBook Pro. It's going to cost you a little bit more. It's almost the same price as the current MacBook Air, but it's got all the other stuff and ports and stuff that the current Air doesn't have. So if you can't wait, the 14-inch MacBook Pro with Apple Silicon would be the way to go. Okay, anybody else in the room? Going once, going twice? Okay, let's open it up to our Zoom audience then.
Okay, I do have one request. We're out in the Zoom. It'd be nice to get a panoramic of the people that are there in front of me, so we could see who all is here.
And we've got Mark Georges has left his chair, he's tripping over the speaker, and he's now panning the room.
Are we supposed to wait?
No other hand signals though.
Yeah.
And you can tell how everybody should be waving and saying, hi.
I can't.
Kathy Toller's the only one who follows instructions. What can I say?
Thanks for my request.
Okay, so did we have any comments or people that want to add their 2 cents to what I presented? I'm always open to hear what other people think.
Bill,
Yeah,
what do you see for the future of IMAX or the mid-range IMAX compared with low-end studios?
okay. What I think is going to happen eventually is you'll have now this is just total speculation. Do not bank money on this. But what I see going forward is you're going to have IMAX that will have those newer chips in them, higher performance chips, more ports on them, and you're going to see a move, instead of the standard being a 1 gigabit Ethernet port, it's going to be either a 2.5 gigabit port or a 10 gigabit port. And for Wi-Fi, they'll be going Wi-Fi 7, which is, or they'll be going 5G instead. Instead of doing Wi-Fi, they'll just put a cellular connection into it. But that's where I see them moving forward. But it's very important to remember that with these Apple Silicon machines, they are not upgradable, which means you're buying it not just for your purpose today, but if you think you're going to be doing something else in 3 years, let's say you think you want to become a YouTube video producer, you want to make sure you're buying a machine that's got enough storage and enough horsepower to do that future task. The other thing is, I've never been a fond advocate of these MacBooks and MacBook Airs that only have 256 gigabytes of storage, and you're supposed to be storing your stuff up in the cloud. I've never been one where I wanted to rely on internet to be able to get to my stuff. So whenever I'm buying a machine configuration, this would be for a laptop or an iMac or a Mac Studio or Mac Pro. Nothing smaller than a 512 gigabyte storage in the device.
Got a question?
I'm seeing Ukrainian flags on some hats, I think.
I got a question.
Okay, who's got it? It's Barb Grafe, I think, has a question.
Yeah.
I've been looking at the iPad, just the plain one, and it said neutral when you were looking at that rumors.com. Explain that again. That either way, it may be good or it may not. I want it for reading books. My old iPad is old. I can still get library books, but
Okay,
I've been thinking of updating, and maybe I can even listen to some of the books through it. The other thing I was interested in is, like, if anybody knows of a small speaker that I can attach to my iPod Touch for listening to books. I don't
okay.
always
Does your
want to be wearing
iPod Touch
earphones.
does your iPod Touch have Bluetooth?
I don't know, I'd have to look at that. It probably
Okay.
does.
Because there are many devices now that are Bluetooth speakers. There's also other devices that are higher end, the IKEA speakers and Sonos speakers that allow you to AirPlay from your Apple
Yeah.
device. So I have
Right.
a $99 IKEA speaker. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Symphonic, thank you very much.
Okay,
Symphonic, $99. I AirPlay from my phone to it, I AirPlay from my iPad to it, I AirPlay from my Mac laptop from it, you know, and it really good sound.
Okay.
Because I do a lot of audiobooks.
mm-hmm, I like those, but I also like to read, on the iPad. And I don't think I really need the Air one because it's more than probably what I need.
Okay, let me ask you this, Barb. Have you ever created a Word document or a spreadsheet on your iPad? You don't do that stuff on
No.
your iPad, right?
No,
Then
no,
would
I may have when we first had it, but
Yeah.
not anymore.
So for that sort of stuff, where you're just using media, you're watching movies, you're listening to shows, you're listening to audiobooks, you're reading books, for that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about performance. So you go with what your budget can cover. And you typically go with the lower priced units.
Bill,
Yes.
that basic iPad, the newest one, is loaded. It's fast, it's loaded. For most people consuming and even creating, it would do what most people want. The big issue is it's limited on size.
Yeah.
It's a little bit slower, but it's not enough for most people to notice. I mean,
Well,
it's really a great
speed's only
price.
gonna matter if you're interacting with the internet and
Well,
you
speed may
interact.
matter if you're rendering video, for example. I render video on my iPad,
Okay,
but she's not rendering video.
okay.
So I don't think it'll be a problem. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that Beats, Apple's sister company that they own, just released a new small speaker that's Bluetooth that they're selling. It's called the Pill, and you know it's really low cost, and then it's pretty nice. I've used it before.
Okay, did you hear that, Barb?
And I didn't hear it was an Apple small speaker.
Yeah, it's Beats,
For you. It's not much.
Beats, not the red beets that you boil.
Right,
You know, more like the beetle beets,
okay,
and it's called the Pill.
And it's at the Apple store. You can see it at the store.
It
okay,
says it's at the Apple store.
okay. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, so, you know, the intention of my video was, one, to let you know about the new products that were announced and released in March, but also to just introduce you to that MacRumors website and their buying guide, because they also have up there links where it'll show you the current best prices. You know, Target may have lowered their price, so it's slightly lower than Best Buy. I mean, they really do it well. They have a very nice way of laying out who's got the best deal on what. One proviso though, some of those links are profitable links for MacRumors. In other words, they'll get a spiff if you buy it through that link. So just be aware that, you know, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because they also can generate revenue to maintain their website. Okay. Any other comments? Going once, going twice. Okay, so now I'm going to open up questions about, did you enjoy the chaos we had in our meeting today? Okay, so we had a presentation that was, we were trying to email it to ourselves, that didn't work. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to embrace the chaos, learn from the chaos, and I think what we're going to do next month, we're going to continue to do the Zoom as part of the meeting. We're going to try and get better at moderating the folks that are coming in via Zoom. But I'm thinking we're going to add a little bit of hardware so that we don't have to physically connect cables to the projector for folks to be able to do their presentations. Because, you know, Dan Wyckoff, I don't know if Dan's going to like this or not, but he's one of our volunteers now. And if there's one thing I've learned with the different nonprofit organizations I've been associated with, you have to keep the volunteers sweetened up. Because if they leave, you're done. And the other thing is, it's a learning moment. You could see how technology isn't always the saving grace that modern technology isn't. Cutting edge technology may not be the solution always. Sometimes plugging in a physical cable is a better solution than, oh, I'm going to airdrop this presentation to your machine. Well, how big is the presentation? It's a couple, megabytes, 100, 200, 300 megabytes. Okay. By the time that finishes airdropping, the meeting is over. So, it's welcome to my world of problem solving. I'll just put it that way. And you can tell I'm enjoying it. This is the ocean that I love to be in. A world of computers and software that don't meet their users' needs, and I'm there trying to figure out how to get it to work, make that customer happy again. Okay, so any other comments from the peanut gallery before we adjourn our meeting? Barb doesn't look happy. Phyllis looks happy. George Reinhardt, I think, went to sleep. He had his head bowed down.
It's been a little rugged the last couple of weeks.
Oh, let me just add one thing. It appears as if there's another version of the virus going around, and it seems to have struck Washington lately. So one of the reasons why I really like the idea of us having Zoom as a tool that we can use is just in case something happens. The plan is May will be another hybrid meeting, in person and Zoom, so that you have the choice of doing what you're most comfortable with. But I'm thinking April, May, June, we'll see what's happening. We'll play it by ear for June. Okay? And that gives us, 60 days. We can figure out what's going on by that point. Is that comfortable for all of you and for all of you here with me? I'm getting shaking heads. Yes. Okay. No digital communications. Okay, we're good. How about for the Zoomies? We're good? I'm seeing you.
For us long distance people, yes, it's good.
And then last but not least, I see Del Herbeck there. Del, I think it's almost time for us to have lunch again. We've been putting it off for 2 years. Okay, we're good. All right, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting unless somebody raises their hand real quick. I got nobody raising their hands here, so we are officially adjourned, and I will see you all next month in May.